Have you ever felt like you don't know who you are? You don't recognize yourself anymore. Like one day you wake up and realize, I don't know who I am. I don't know what I want. And I don't even know what actually makes me happy anymore. Like you're living on autopilot, waking up, handling your responsibilities, doing what you have to do, showing up where you need to show up. But deep down, you feel lost, you feel numb. And no matter how much you try to shake it off, you can't seem to reconnect with yourself. I know this feeling also well because I lived it almost every day of my life, waking up every morning feeling exhausted before the day even started. Like I used to put on this face pretending like everything is okay, but inside I was screaming, constantly second guessing myself, questioning every decision, not trusting my own feelings, my own needs, because I didn't even know what they were anymore. Filling every moment with distractions, strolling on my phone, overworking, doing everything for everyone else just so I didn't have to sit with myself because sitting with myself felt like sitting with a stranger. I didn't know where I was anymore. And if this sounds familiar, it sounds like something that you're going through. This is exactly what we're talking about today. Why trauma disconnects us from ourselves, how to grieve the parts of you that were lost, and how to start rebuilding self trust and self connection. And just like I promised, in episode 3, today we're going to dive in deeper to step 3 of my Safe With Me framework, reconnection. But before we dive into that, I want to welcome back my old listeners. Hey, and welcome the new ones. Hey, let me introduce myself. Hi, I am your host here at Assisted Love Podcast, and my name is Rose Jones, and I am just one woman with one voice trying to help women heal. And on this podcast, we are here to have a safe space for women that's on a healing journey, give them resources, and to start generational healing. Yes, generational healing. So, if you are a woman on a healing journey and you are at the beginning and you feel like you need a little guidance, a little support, then you are in the right place. I would love for you to hit the subscribe button and turn your notifications so that you never miss another episode of the Sister Our podcast. And also, don't forget to join our Facebook group called Sister Let's Heal Together. It's where we go deeper at the conversations that we start here at this podcast. And we give each other support and resources, and we're surrounded by women who gets it and love on us. So I would love for you to join that group. Welcome to A Sister's Love, the podcast that helps women who are healing by having those deep conversations, giving practical advice and words of encouragement. Come on, let's talk about it. You ever look in the mirror and not recognize the person staring back at you? Like, you know it's you, but something just doesn't feel right. It's like you've been going through life on autopilot, checking all the boxes, doing what you supposed to do, but somewhere along the way, you stop feeling like you. That feeling right there, that's disconnect. That is not just in your head. It's what's happening. What happens when you spend a long time surviving and forget just how to be you. Before we can start rebuilding that connection, you have to first recognize the signs that you are disconnected. And here are a couple signs that you to identify if you are disconnected with yourself. The first one is if you feel emotionally numb or overwhelmed. When you're disconnected from yourself, your emotions feel foreign to you. You either don't feel them at all, you're just numb, detached, like you're watching your life happen instead of living it, or everything feels too much, right? Like even the smallest things are overwhelming. This happens because your nervous system has been in survival mode for so long that it either shuts your emotions down to protect you or floods you with them, and you just don't know how to process them. I remember waking up some days and just going through the motions. It wasn't that I was sad. It wasn't that I was happy. I just was. Nothing felt real. And then there was there where the smallest things, like a text, a noise, an unexpected change, will completely send me to a spiral. I thought something was wrong with me. But the truth was, I just lost touch with what I actually felt and who I actually was. So I didn't know how to process that. The second thing is you struggle to make decisions. When you're disconnected from yourself, even simple decisions feel impossible. Do I really want this? Or am I just choosing it because it's expected of me? Am I making the decision for me or because I don't want to disappoint someone else? These constant second guessing happen because you no longer trust your own judgment. You spend so much time listening to external voices that you don't know how to listen to your own. For me, I remember standing in a grocery store trying to pick out something for dinner and just staring at the shelf. And I was like, I can't even figure out what I want. And it was just not just about food, it was about everything. My whole life has been about me making choices that kept everyone happy, that made other people comfortable, that I forgot that I matter. And I didn't have idea what to do. I had no idea to figure out what I wanted. The third thing is you do not recognize your own needs and desires. If I ask you right now, what do you need? Would you be able to answer not what your kids need, not what your partner needs, not your job or your friend needs? What do you need? When you're disconnected from yourself, that question feels almost impossible to answer. You've been so used to putting yourself last that you don't even know what your needs are anymore, right? For me, for the longest time, I thought self care meant taking a bubble bath or doing a face mask or something like that because that's what social media said. Like, girl, get some candles, light some candles, right? But it wasn't actually helping me because it wasn't what I needed. What I needed was sleep. I needed was rest without guilt. I needed was space to process my thoughts without feeling like I was being selfish. But I didn't even know how to recognize those needs because I had spent my whole life ignoring them. And number four, you struggle to set or enforce boundaries. Girl, when you don't feel connected to yourself, you do not feel like your boundaries matter. You let people walk all over you. You say yes when you want to say no. You put other people comfort over your own. Why? Because when you don't have a strong sense of self, it's easy to believe that what you want isn't important as much as what other people need from you. Like that, T. I used to be the person that people will call all hours, dumping their problems on me. And I listen, I'll be there because I thought that that's what being a good person meant. But the truth was that I was draining myself trying to fix everybody else. I needed to stop and ask myself, what do I need? Do I even have the energy to do this? And so I started reconnecting with myself. I didn't know how to say no because I didn't even believe that I had the right to. Mm, I didn't believe I had the right to. And that's crazy. Number five, you feel like you're living for other people, not yourself. When you're disconnected from yourself, life starts to feel like a role you're playing instead of something that you're actually living. You just doing what expected. You're trying to be what other people need you to be. And somewhere along the way, you lose you. It's like you're waiting for permission to exist as a full person, as your full self. I spend years living for others' expectations, being that strong one, the responsible one, the one who always had it together. And I thought that that's who I was. But the truth was that I was exhausted. I was performing. I had to build my whole entire identity around what I thought I was supposed to be, except for who I actually was. And I had to finally stop and ask myself, who am I outside of these roles playing? And I didn't have an answer for that. I didn't know who I was outside of these expectations. So now that we talked about what it looks like to be disconnected from yourself, let's talk about what happens next. Grief. Yeah, I know that's probably not what you wanted to hear, but the truth is, when you experience trauma and you spend so many years surviving, you lose parts of yourself along the way. And before you can reconnect, you have to face those losses. Because here's the thing, trauma does not just change you, it takes from you. It steals from the sense of your ability to trust, the way that you used to dream, the way that you used to be. And a lot of us don't recognize that we're grieving. We just so stuck or numb, or we don't recognize ourselves anymore. Maybe you used to be a carefree, but now you overthink everything. Maybe you had a big dreams, but now you don't even know what you want. Maybe you used to believe in love, in people, in yourself, but now all of that feels so far away. That is lost, and you cannot get past that. We do not let ourselves grieve what we have lost. So now that we talked about what it looks like to be disconnected from yourself, let's talk about what happens next. Grief. Yeah, I know that probably not what you wanted to hear, right? But the truth is that when you experience trauma and you spend years surviving, you lose parts of yourself along the way. And before you can even reconnect, you have to face that loss. Because here's the thing, trauma doesn't just change you, it takes from you. It steals your sense of safety, your ability to trust, the way that you used to dream, the way that you used to just be. And a lot of us don't realize that we're grieving. We just feel like we're stuck or we're numb or like we don't recognize ourselves anymore. Maybe you used to be this carefree person and now you overthink everything. Maybe you had this big dreams, but now you don't even know what you want. Maybe you used to believe in love and people and yourself, but now all of that feels so far away. That's loss. And you cannot just get past that. If we don't let ourselves grieve, we lose. We stay stuck back in a version of ourselves that doesn't exist anymore. But grief isn't just about mourning what's gone, it's about making space for what is next. So let's talk about how we can process this and how we can start healing through it and how we can make room for the person that we are becoming. Okay. Before we can reconnect with ourselves, we have to grieve what we lost. And I know grief isn't something that we talk about enough when it comes to healing. When we hear the word grief, we usually think about losing a loved one. But grief isn't just about death, it's about losing anything that mattered to you. And when you have experienced trauma, there's a lot of grief because trauma doesn't just change your circumstances, it changes you. It shapes the way that you see the world, the way that you trust people, the way that you see yourself. And it forces you to adapt, to become a version of yourself that can survive rather than just be and just live. And that means that there are parts of you that get left behind. Maybe you used to be this fun, spontaneous, full of life, but now you're second guessing everything. You hesitate before you speak. You wonder if your voice and words will be used against you. You hold on to your joy because you're afraid to be happy. And if something joyful happens, you feel like something bad might happen. You used to love people, used to be in love, you used to like that safe, seen love, right? But now you're scared. You distance yourself from people, or even worse, you attract yourself to people that treat you wrong because it feels familiar. And you're scared to be loved properly. Or maybe you once had a dream, a big, exciting dream about what life could be, but somewhere along the way, you stop believing in them. You stop believing in yourself because trauma made you feel like you wasn't worthy, that you weren't capable, that it was too late to be the person that you are meant to be. That is called loss. And grief comes with it. But no one tells you that healing isn't just about moving forward. It's about mourning what you didn't get to keep, the relationships that were destroyed, the childhood that was stolen, the confidence that you once had, the ability to trust your own mind and body without fear. This grief is confusing because you're not just grieving what happened, you're grieving what could have been if things were different. And sometimes that grief comes in waves. One moment you think that you're accepting it, and the next you feel the weight of it all over again. You might feel frustrated. Why did I have to go through this? Why did I have to lose so much just to survive? You might feel sadness. I don't even know who I am without this pain. You might feel angry. I was robbed of something I'll never get back. And it makes sense because you do not just lose something, you were forced to let it go. But here's what makes grief important in your healing journey. You cannot reconnect with yourself if you do not first acknowledge what was taken from you. Mhm. And the hardest part is if you skip this step, you'll keep trying to find a version of yourself that no longer exists. You'll keep chasing after a person that used to be, the person that you think that you should be, without realizing that you're no longer capable of being them because trauma changed you and you're not that person anymore and you'll never be that person again. And I'm sorry, that's the hard part. It's hard to accept, but it is also necessary because when you stop chasing who you were, you can start discovering who you are now. So let's talk about how do we start processing this grief. First, I need you to stop pretending. It don't. It didn't matter. Stop telling yourself that it is what it is, or you'll just get over it. You don't have to minimize your pain to make other people comfortable. You do not have to act like your past did not affect you to prove that you are strong, right? We don't have to do that. Second, I need you to let yourself actually feel it, the frustration, the regret, the heartbreak, the disappointment. Let it be without judgment, without rushing yourself to fix it, because feeling doesn't mean that you're stuck. It means that you're healing. You need to feel it. Third, write a letter to the version of yourself that didn't make it through, the part that had to be sacrificed for survival. Talk to them, honor them, acknowledge what they went through. And when you are ready, let them go so that you can make space for the version of you that is here, still fighting and still becoming. And four, recognize what healing doesn't mean. Going back to who you were, it means making peace with who you are now. You're not broken because you changed, you adapted, you protect yourself, and the best way you knew how. But now it's time to create safety. You can choose who you are and who you want to be without trauma making choices for you. Because you cannot rebuild your connection with yourself if you do not first acknowledge the version of you that did not survive the trauma. And grieving that version of you makes peace where you were. And you can finally step into where you're going.
Hey, beautiful. Let's take a quick break and let's talk about something I think might help you right now. There was a point in my healing journey where I had to be real with myself. What I was doing wasn't working. I felt emotionally off balance. I kept hitting the same wall. No matter what I tried, I felt stuck. And when I finally sat with it, I realized I didn't feel safe. Not in my body, not in my emotions, and not even within myself. That's when everything shifted because I finally understood that the lack of safety was the reason I couldn't move forward. And if you feel that way, like something is missing in your healing, I want to introduce to you my workbook collection, Healing a Survivor. It is built around my 3-step framework called Safe With Me, and it breaks it into micro steps to help you create safety, find stabilization, and reconnect with yourself. If you're in a place where nothing is working and you know something is missing, I want you to give my collection a try. Click the link in my show notes.
Now, we talked about what it means to disconnect from yourself. We talked about grieving what we lost. Now it's time to shift gears into talking about how to start rebuilding that connection, how to move forward, and not by trying to reclaim the past, but by learning to trust and love the person that you are now. Because healing isn't about finding yourself again, right? It's about choosing yourself over and over, even when it feels unfamiliar. It's about proving to yourself and making those small steps that someone feels worthy to show up for. So, how do we actually do that? How do we start reconnecting with ourselves after years of survival mode? Let me break it down for you. Reconnecting with yourself is about intentional, not just moving through life an autopilot, but actually choosing to show up for yourself in ways that remind you that you matter. For so long, everything that we did was reaction, a survival instinct, a pattern. We did not even realize we were repeating, we were adapting to what we needed to do to get through the day, to avoid conflict, to keep the peace, to protect yourself. But healing is about shifting out of autopilot and into intentional, because being aware of what you need, how you speak, to yourself and how you care for yourself and how you show up in your own life. This is a process. It isn't passive. It's not something that you just happen overnight. It's an active decision every single day to trust yourself again, to show up for yourself, give yourself grace, to love yourself intentionally. So let's talk about what that looks like. That looks like first, trusting yourself again. Self trust isn't just about big decisions, it's about these small everyday moments where you choose to believe in yourself, even when it feels unnatural. For years, we were conditioned to doubt ourselves, to second guess our choices, to wait for validation, to put other people's needs, opinions, and expectations ahead of our own. But trusting yourself means making decisions for your own voice, not your fears, for your obligations, not for other people. Start by making one small decision every day just for you. How do you want to spend your time? What does your body need right now? How do you want to be treated? Every time you listen to yourself, even the small ways, you rebuild trust. Now, number two, speaking to yourself with compassion. Your inner voice shapes how you see yourself. If you've been filling yourself with criticism, guilt, shame, it's time to rewrite that dialogue. Instead of saying, I always mess up, try and say, I'm learning and that's okay. Instead of saying, why am I like this? Try, what do I need right now? Instead of saying, I don't deserve happiness, try to say, I am worthy of love and healing. The words that you say to yourself matters. If you wouldn't say it to someone else, don't say it to your goddamn self. Number three, be impatient with yourself. Healing isn't about getting back to normal, right? Because normal doesn't exist anymore. We're evolving to someone new, and that takes time. Some days you'll feel strong, other days you'll feel lost. That's part of the process. Healing isn't linear, it's self connection, doesn't happen overnight. Give yourself permission to move at your own pace. If you have a bad day, it doesn't erase the progress that you already done. If old habits show up, it doesn't mean that you haven't grown. Trust that every step, no matter how small, is moving you forward. Now, number four, being intentional with how you show up for yourself. For so long, we did things out of habit, out of necessity, out of fear. But healing means making conscious choices to show up for yourself with love and care. This means choosing food that makes you feel good instead of eating whatever convenient, wearing clothes that make you feel comfortable and confident, setting boundaries that honor your energy and emotional well being, creating routines that bring peace instead of chaos. Okay. Every intentional action, no matter how small, is the act of self love. Number five, learn to love yourself as you are now. You are not the same person that you were before trauma, and that's okay. Instead of chasing the old version of yourself, start embracing who you are becoming. Love yourself for your resilience. Love yourself for your growth. Love yourself for making it this far, even when it was so hard. Reconnection isn't about becoming someone new. It's about showing up for yourself, choosing yourself, and refusing to abandon yourself ever again. About reconnecting with your past, not defined by your future. That everything you've been through has shaped, but not limit you. Every day that you choose to honor who you are now, to be present for yourself and to move forward with love, patience, and self trust. Today, we uncover what it really means to reconnect with yourself. We talked about how this connection isn't just about feeling lost, it's about survival. It's about how trauma forced you to adapt in ways that protect you, but also distance you from who you truly are. We explore how to recognize when you're lost connection with yourself, how to grieve that part of you that trauma took away, and most importantly, how to start to rebuild and trust and reconnect in a way that feels real and sustainable. Reconnection with yourself is not about going back to who you were before the trauma, because that version of you is no longer existing. And that's okay. This journey is about learning to love and trust who you are now and showing up for yourself with the same care and compassion you always give to others, right? Healing doesn't happen overnight. It happens in small, intentional moments. Choosing yourself every day, even in the times that you're speaking to yourself with kindness and love, giving yourself permission to feel, to grieve, to grow. And most importantly, refusing to abandon yourself ever again. If today's episode resonated with you, then I don't want you to miss the next one. The next episode is us wrapping it all up. If this episode resonated with you, I would love for you to check out our next episode, which will be episode 10, and it will be the final episode of our season. In this episode, we're going to just wrap it all together, put it all together, and we're going to conclude this whole season of why healing feels so hard. And I'm just going to be dropping some little if that's what you want to call them. And I think it's an episode that needs to hear because it's going to pull it all together. It's going to make everything feels like a connection. You know what I'm saying? And then if you haven't already, I'm going to need you to go join our Facebook group, Sister Let's Heal Together, because when the season comes to an end, you're definitely going to have questions. You're definitely going to want to engage with other people, you're definitely going to want to have these things questioned. You definitely want to get involved in these deeper conversations because each week we dive into each episode, even though I dropped the whole season at once. Each week we're dissection. We're going to break down each episode and we're going to go deeper. And we only do that in the Facebook group. I definitely need you to be there. I definitely need you to join that. So join the Facebook group, Sister Let's Heal Together. The link is in the show notes. And I can't wait to see you over there. And that's it for today's episode. Signing up, your sister Love. Bye.